show where our fire hydrants are, sanitary lift stations, pretty much anything that we would like to see on the map as to give us a reference as to where that is. All we have to do is turn that information on, the map will display it, and from there we can find additional information on that piece of on that portion of the map. This is a quick demonstration of the power of the GeoBlade Viewer application. Gentlemen, do we have any questions?
Member Secor.
Yeah, I only thought I had one question, then as you kept going through it, I developed about 4 questions.
That's GIS, it burns everything out.
That's right.
That's correct.
My first question, maybe this is, maybe I have too much of a layman's level, but the coding or the tagging of properties or locations, is that done by a 9-digit zip, or what's the basis for coding?
What do you mean coding?
When we say 555 South Washington Avenue,
Mm-hmm.
is that the extent of knowing that location? Just the address only, the address and zip?
That's all. That's pretty much all we need is the address, and also we're referring to whenever we start locating a lot of the records, we refer to the address, we refer to the property ID, and we can also refer to many other items within the GIS to be able to localize that one record.
It's referred to generally as an address point.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do we anytime in the future see us integrating GPS at all into this? I mean, I was thinking if you're going to find a water meter, it'd be great to know it's at coordinates, X and Y.
Mm-hmm.
We have those in some cases. We don't have all of them yet.
Okay. And I guess my next question was with the computer systems, you were navigating pretty quickly around there and everything was responding real well. We were doing it on limited sets of data. I'm trying to imagine some of our city computers and our users accessing this data. How does the system hold up? I don't know what running back there for a
Very
system.
well.
It does hold up very well. Currently, we're running this from that laptop over there.
It's live.
Yes.
Off the server.
That's like a quad core, super duper.
It is one of our premium computers, but this runs fine on any of your laptops also.
Okay. The next question I had, as far as the data points, were very interesting in capturing discrete data about individual properties. I've used MapPoint before. That's my just basic, real rudimentary program that I use to do things. And I know one of the features it has is shading, that you can utilize U.S. Census data and you can create shaded maps.
Yes.
Is there an ability to use our existing city data and do the shaded maps in that regard? I know it sounds like kind of a nuance, but for instance, if we wanted to look at crime statistics in the city, look at problem areas or code enforcement areas, it might be very informative to us as a council to see, okay, here is a hot pocket of activity that we might want to pay attention to, whereas the dots, you really have to start to interpret, data that way.
Correct.
So is shading the capability in the system?
Currently, we do have access to the RMS Visionary database. We are extracting several pieces of information, including arrests, drug use, domestic disputes, robbery, burglary, all those items. We are extracting that information from the RMS database, and we have additional map configurations that do display that information.
Okay. But would it get to a shaded graphical standpoint?
I think if I understand what you're saying, though, you want a particular area, if it's a hot spot, it's going to be kind of like in maybe a blue or a yellow or something like that?
Yeah, that's
Kind of
what I've seen in the
background
map point.
standing out?
And I realize that's by census tract that they use their qualifier for an area, and then that's the math that goes into that area then dictates the shading. So if you have a census tract with a high poverty level, that might be in a different shading level, and you can look at the map visually and you can see, okay,
Right.
here's an area where we start to increase in poverty, or here's an area we start to increase in crime.
The map can, utilizing the GIS data, and depending on what values you want to use to enable that shading, say for example in the poverty level, GIS can utilize that level or that number and create a shading based on that attribute. Yes.
Okay, so that's something we could do. That wouldn't be like if we came up with a meeting, we said, boy, we'd like to know, like curb appeal is a big issue for us. So code enforcements, if we had a shading of the city or something, might be able to see where we might be able to step up activity or,
I'll see if we can get some examples for you.
okay.
for that.
And my last question is, and I know this is probably off in, version 2.0 or 3.0 or 5.0, but one of the things years ago I know we were trying to do is at the height of the boom here in construction, we would have a lot of people come forward that would say, boy, I never knew about this proposed conditional use permit that was filed with the city. This is just, 550 feet from my house. Well, the radius for requirement for informing someone was 500 feet. Or we have a boards of adjustment appeals and someone goes before and submits a case that way. Do you see anywhere in the future or near future to be able to connect this interactively in a very basic sense with citizens, maybe for, like I said, conditional use permits and Board of Adjustment and Appeals, so someone might be able to register for email alerts should such activity be taking place within a certain proximity of their address?
We do have an application, a hosted application, or serious application called Map Nimbus. What this application does is the entire public can go ahead to a website and pull this information out. And they can generate a buffer, half-mile buffer, a mile buffer, et cetera. If something occurs within that buffer, they will be automatically emailed saying this has happened within that buffer. Currently, I don't believe the city of Titusville has that application of ours yet, but that is something that we can.
It's scheduled for this year,
Mhm.
before the end of the year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, great. All right, that's all my questions. Thank you very much. Very informative.
Vice Mayor.
A couple questions. The menu on the left, is that the extent of the current menu that's available?
No, sir. Absolutely not. This is just a menu that was
Just a-
done for demonstration
okay.
purposes. We can pull several different types of layers from here as well.
Zonings and
Yes, sir.
as-built for underground, like
Yes, sir.
stormwater and sewer lines and water lines and all that kind of stuff?
We intentionally left the water lines off of this.
Okay.
just for- yeah.
Just trying to
We
get an
have
extent
everything
of-
there.
okay.
Water has done a tremendous job with all of the information they had, converting it and getting it input into GIS. So
And,
there's
and
a lot of stuff underground.
is that just diagrammatic, or is it actual as-built locations referenced to the map?
That I'm not sure. I will have to get with water to find out.
Just curious, because I know every contractor that comes in has 15 feet off of this and 20 foot off the building, or 20 foot off the
Do you know the
road.
accuracy of that, Ken?
As
For
far
the
as
wa-
as-built
for the-
data,
Yes.
as-built data, I don't believe is something that that is going into GIS at this point.
Okay.
Could-
Just speaking to as-built data.
Could you repeat that answer to the microphone so we
Okay.
have her,
The as-built data is not going into GIS at this point.
but is there an intent to do that at some
It
point?
can be done.
Is that it?
Yes.
I think we have another representative who's going to add to the answer.